If you prefer to use the straight shaper instead of the fold over shaper, you will shape before you profile, and you will be doing dry cane that has been gouged. So this was gouged and then it was left to dry for at least several days. And then we're gonna sand the inside to make sure that it's nice and smooth. Okay, and once those are smooth, we are going to put them in the straight shaper, and you can look from the end to see which way the curve is, and then it'll fit with that curve. And then you want to make sure that it's centered side to side and straight. Okay, and you tighten it down. It fits inside here. Now we're going to use a new razor blade for this. You always want to use a new razor blade so it's nice and sharp, so there's no issues with it not cutting cleanly. And now we're going to cut from the middle down. Nice, small, smooth cuts. Trying to keep the razor blade even with the shaper so it's not tilted to one side or another. When it gets close to the bottom, we're going to cut up just a little bit from the bottom and then cut down to meet that. Some of them will have a notch in the middle that you can cut into to show the middle. This one does not. So you're going to do all four sides. You'll notice that I have it resting on the table for stability. And then when it's done, you can take it out and it's ready to soak for 2 to 3 hours and then profile. Okay, and then when you're done, don't forget to clean up the mess, put the shaper away, and you never use files or sandpaper with a shaper, always just a razor blade. And at this point, you're ready to soak these dry shaped pieces for 2 to 3 hours and use the profiler. This cane now has been soaking for 2 to 3 hours, so we are going to put it on the profiler. I'm going to start by putting it onto the bed, making sure that it's lined up evenly in between side to side and top to bottom using the guides. Okay, and then these go towards the ends, not towards the middle, because then they'll hit the blade. Okay, so we've got it set, we've clicked it down, and now we're going to do a preliminary pass. And what you can do is you can define the center very gently and define the collar like this. Okay, and then we're going to
take the top layer off. And after we do the top layer, we're going to flip it around. If the blade gets full of cane, you can just make sure it gets cleaned out. You never want to pull directly on these strands in the middle, but you can use this very gently to get them to come off, or you can rub them with your finger. Okay, and you go until it doesn't take any more off. Like that. And now to use the fold over shaper, you're going to want it to be folded, so you can do it either on the edge of a table or over a ruler of some kind to fold it in half in the middle. I don't think you can see it. If I back up, you can see how we would fold it like this, and then let it dry folded so that it makes it easier to shape. Now that we've profiled our cane, if it's still soaked, we can use the fold over shaper right away, or we could soak it again if it has a chance to dry out. Now, you notice that these two pieces are folded over and this one is not. So I'm just gonna use this unopened razor blade to fold it. You can use a ruler, the side of a desk, anything flat. Might not be good to use something sharp because it could cut the cane. So I have my fold over shaper here and I have a brand new razor blade. You always want to use a new razor blade for this because it needs to be very sharp. Now I'm gonna put my cane onto the fold over shaper and I might look in the light to see where the spine is from the profiler. I don't know if you can see, it is pretty centered, so I'm gonna center it on this fold over shaper. It's within these two tabs and it's pushed all the way down so that I get the true shape. Tighten that, and I'm gonna start to cut this way, very small cuts, and smooth cuts that go with the line, with the grain of the cane. Okay. Now I like to do this on the table like this, but so you get a better view, I will turn it this way. And I'm trying to make really clean, smooth cuts so that I don't tear any of the cane. And once I get to this point where I'm pretty close at the bottom, I'm gonna cut up just a little bit from the bottom, just about that far, because that's about where the flare starts in this shape, in most shapes that have a flare. Okay, and then I'm going to try and cut down to meet that, but my goal is to not tear a piece from the bottom here, because then I would end up with a narrower butt than the shape. Okay, and then I'm going to get as close as I can to the metal of the shaper. I can feel the metal on the razor blade, but I don't want to be tilted in one way or the other, because then that gives me an uneven shape. Okay, so then the last step is I'm going to turn it this way, and I'm going to cut from the other direction with my hand so that I can make sure I get a nice clean cut. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Small pieces. You never want to use a file or a sandpaper with a shaper, because it will change the shape. It'll actually wear down the metal. Okay, so the razor blade's the best way to go. You'll notice the razor blade is pretty much perpendicular, or as close as I can. It's not, I'm not cutting like this. I'm cutting at a very small angle to the shaper so that I don't gouge the shape. I'm going to turn it around, do that, there. And then I'm going to let it dry where it gets nice, lots of air flow and can dry out. And I'm going to clean up my mess.